Picture Berlin, 1939. But in this aggressively fictional timeline, the man running Nazi Germany isn't Hitler, it's MrBeast, and he has turned the Reichstag into a warehouse-sized studio where every military decision is now a challenge video. 100 generals enter a bunker. The last one to suggest invading Poland loses his channel, and every propaganda speech ends with a Feastables sponsor read. History has become the world's most horrifying game show. The propaganda machine changes overnight. Speeches are no longer measured by applause. They are measured by audience retention. If viewers stop watching after 30 seconds, the minister disappears from the next upload. Every policy needs a shocked face, a red arrow, and a title implying that Europe will not believe what happens next. The regime remains brutal, but now its lies arrive with jump cuts, confetti cannons, and a thumbnail designer asking whether the invasion looks emotional enough. Then comes Poland. In real history, the invasion was an act of aggression that unleashed catastrophic violence. In this absurd timeline, MrBeast pitches it as a challenge called "Last Army to Leave Warsaw Wins a Country." The generals stare at the whiteboard. One raises a hand and asks, "Who exactly donated the country?" Nobody answers. A producer quietly adds a legal disclaimer in 6-point text while tanks wait outside for the drone shot. Britain and France demand negotiations, so the regime schedules the Munich Cinematic Universe reunion special. Neville Chamberlain arrives expecting diplomacy and finds a neon-lit table with mystery boxes under every chair. One contains a peace agreement. One contains a novelty mustache. One contains a coupon for free shipping that expired yesterday. The meeting lasts 4 hours because every handshake must be filmed from 3 angles, and peace in Europe is delayed by a corrupted memory card. MrBeast also signs a non-aggression pact with Stalin, but presents it like a doomed creator collaboration. They divide a paper map with a ruler, pose beside it, then immediately release competing behind-the-scenes videos, accusing the other side of bad vibes. Historians in this universe do not call it diplomacy. They call it the most predictable collaboration breakup since 2 influencers tried sharing one editing team and both demanded top billing. Back home, the economy becomes one enormous giveaway. The government announces that every 1,000th citizen will receive a suitcase full of cash. Unfortunately, the money is printed so quickly that by the time the winner opens the suitcase, it buys half a cabbage and a moderately convincing photograph of butter. Economists beg for restraint. The prize department responds by doubling the suitcase and adding fireworks, because nothing stabilizes a currency like setting part of the budget on fire for B-roll. Rationing is redesigned as a loyalty program. Bread arrives in collectible packaging. Fuel coupons come with scratch-off challenges. A family that gathers all 12 limited edition chocolate wrappers can exchange them for 1 potato, subject to availability and the collapse of continental logistics. The fictional candy bars are advertised as the official snack of total mobilization, although they melt in soldiers' pockets and attract every ant from Belgium to the Balkans. Military planning becomes completely dependent on the algorithm. Instead of asking whether an operation is possible, commanders ask whether it will perform. A cautious defensive plan gets rejected for having a weak hook. A disastrous frontal assault is approved because the concept tests well with 18 to 24-year-old men who have never seen artillery. Maps are covered in arrows, circles, and notes reading bigger stakes, until nobody can remember which lines represent armies and which represent proposed thumbnail compositions. The generals adapt by gaming the metrics. They arrive at briefings with rehearsed shocked expressions. They rename retreats reverse advances and defeats Part 1 cliffhangers. One field marshal buys 10,000 fake subscribers from a kiosk in Switzerland and is promoted before breakfast. Another quietly points out that troops need fuel, food, and winter clothing. His presentation receives only 12 views, so the logistics problem is officially declared irrelevant. At first, Blitzkrieg seems perfect for short-form video. Fast movement, loud machines, immediate consequences. But filming ruins everything. Armored columns stop every 10 kilometers, so MrBeast can leap from a truck and explain the rules again. Soldiers repeat the same charge because the camera operator missed focus. A bridge is captured, released, then captured again for a cleaner reaction. Momentum collapses beneath the irresistible military principle known as one more take. Every operation now carries a production convoy, lights, batteries, catering, giveaway boxes, and a man whose only job is to fire confetti at strategic moments. Supply officers scream that fuel trucks are stuck behind trucks carrying foam fingers. A tank division runs dry beside a mountain of branded hoodies. The hoodies are excellent quality, but cannot tow artillery. For perhaps the first time in warfare, an offensive fails because medium was overstocked and everyone actually needed diesel. The Battle of Britain becomes "I sent 1,000 planes over this island." Pilots are promised a sports car if they remain airborne the longest, which is not how fuel works. Ground crews paint enormous subscriber counters on hangars. Across the channel, British radar operators watch the approaching formation and wonder why half the aircraft are arranged into the shape of a play button. The formation looks fantastic from above and is tactically useful to absolutely nobody. MrBeast's regime repeatedly invites Winston Churchill onto a debate stream, hoping for a dramatic crossover episode. Britain refuses the spectacle and keeps fighting. This causes panic in Berlin, where every consultant insists that conflict can be resolved if both sides agree on a thumbnail. A studio assistant proposes simply respecting national sovereignty. The room falls silent. His idea is rejected for being morally sound, historically sensible, and nearly impossible to monetize. Across occupied Europe, local administrators are ordered to produce regional content. France gets melancholy cooking videos. Norway gets survival challenges that are mostly weather. The Netherlands is forced to host a bicycle giveaway in a square where nobody is allowed to leave. Beneath the ridiculous packaging, however, occupation is still occupation. Coercion, theft, imprisonment, and fear. The joke is never on the people trapped inside it. The joke is on tyranny pretending a camera can make tyranny entertaining. The secret police rebrand themselves as Community Guidelines Enforcement. Citizens do not get arrested. They get permanently demonetized from public life. Homes are searched for prohibited opinions, suspicious radios, and unauthorized sponsorships. The euphemism makes the cruelty more grotesque, not less. Every dictatorship invents softer language for hard violence. This one merely adds a notification bell and an automated email explaining that appeals will be reviewed in 6,000 to 8,000 years. MrBeast tries to solve the regime's image problem with philanthropy. He gives away houses that the government previously confiscated. He donates food after officials created the shortage. He films himself rebuilding one school while military planners mark 10 others on a bombing map. The edits are uplifting. The accounting is monstrous. Generosity funded by stolen property is not generosity. It is a hostage situation with better lighting and an aggressively cheerful soundtrack. Resistance groups quickly understand the regime's real weakness. It cannot function without spectacle. They cut camera cables, swap prop crates, and paint tiny mustaches on the blue mascot. A railway saboteur does not destroy a bridge. She rotates every directional sign so the production convoy reaches a goat farm. By sunset, 50 exhausted crew members are filming "I survived 24 hours in a barn," while the actual supply train quietly escapes. In North Africa, the war becomes last tank to leave the desert wins 10 million Reichsmarks. The prize money sits in a glass box under the sun and becomes even less valuable by the minute. Tanks circle it until their engines overheat. A field commander asks for water, spare parts, and accurate maps. Headquarters sends 3 ring lights and a giant ceremonial check. The check provides shade, making it the campaign's single most useful piece of equipment. Then MrBeast launches the invasion of the Soviet Union as the ultimate endurance challenge. Millions of soldiers, thousands of vehicles, one enormous red progress bar pointing east. The pitch promises completion before winter, because winter performs badly with test audiences. Early advances produce triumphant montages. Then the roads dissolve into mud, distances swallow fuel, and the progress bar keeps moving only because an editor is dragging it with a mouse. Winter arrives without caring about sponsors, retention, or upload schedules. Engines freeze, supply lines snap. Soldiers discover that hype is not insulation and subscriber milestones do not prevent frostbite. The generals propose a withdrawal. MrBeast proposes a larger prize pool. Nature sides with logistics. No amount of dramatic music can persuade a truck to start at -30 degrees, especially when its fuel was traded last week for limited edition glow-in-the-dark shoelaces. By 1943, the regime attempts a $100 million peace summit, apparently forgetting it began the war. Delegations enter a ballroom containing one long table and a mountain of cash behind glass. The terms are simple. Everyone stops fighting, Berlin keeps everything, and the winner receives naming rights to Belgium. No one accepts. MrBeast adds a second mountain of cash. Inflation adds 3 more. Belgium leaves during the sponsor message. Inside the government, loyalty collapses into a subscriber race. Ministers leak each other's private analytics. Generals stage a coup but postpone it until the channel reaches 100 million subscribers, because the commemorative plaque would look incredible in the war room. When the milestone finally arrives, nobody knows who controls the password. 3 rival factions spend the afternoon requesting account recovery, while enemy armies cross the border largely unopposed. The final bunker becomes the last challenge set. 20 officials enter. Whoever survives the longest wins an electric bicycle and responsibility for the entire disaster. The lights flicker because the generators are empty. The catering table holds 1 potato and 4,000 chocolate bars. Outside, the city burns. Inside, a producer asks everyone to look surprised for the thumbnail. For once, nobody has to act. The regime does not collapse because the audience gets bored. It collapses for the old, unglamorous reasons: impossible wars, murdered and oppressed populations fighting back, shattered industry, broken supply lines, and enemies closing from every direction. Metrics cannot replace legitimacy. Branding cannot manufacture fuel. A million views cannot hold a bridge, feed an army, or turn criminal aggression into strategy. And that is the nightmare punchline of this aggressively fictional timeline. Give fascism a famous format, a bright hoodie, and the world's most expensive editing suite, and it remains fascism: coercive, murderous, paranoid, and eventually self-destructive. The thumbnails may become cleaner. The slogans may become sponsor-friendly.